Can Ferrari reverse its difficult start to the season and challenge a seemingly unstoppable McLaren in 2025? The 2025 Miami Grand Prix is projected to be one of the most momentous events in this early stage of the Formula One World Championship. Scheduled to take place from May 2nd to 4th at the iconic Miami International Autodrome, this street circuit around Hard Rock Stadium represents much more than just a stop on the calendar. It is the first American event of the season, but also the second sprint weekend of the year, a format that has already proven to significantly alter traditional race dynamics and demands pinpoint precision from both drivers and teams at every moment of the weekend. Starting Friday, May 2nd, fans will be able to feel the intensity ahead. Gates will open at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, allowing the first attendees to experience the vibrant atmosphere of Formula One on American soil. The only free practice session will begin at 12:30 p.m., a significant detail in a sprint format. The teams will have just an hour to find the ideal setup on a track that combines tight corners, long straights, and asphalt that often experiences significant temperature fluctuations. Then, at 4:30 p.m., sprint qualifying will take place, which will determine the starting grid for Saturday's short race. This qualifying session, which demands maximum aggression and minimal margin for error, provides a perfect setting for analyzing the immediate strengths and weaknesses of each team, especially McLaren and Ferrari, who will arrive under diametrically opposed pressures. One needing to maintain their lead, the other urgently seeking to regain their rhythm. On Saturday, May 3rd, the race will begin at 10 a.m. with the opening of the doors. The highlight of the day will be the sprint race, scheduled for 12 o'clock noon local time. This is where the points at stake begin to count in the championship, and where McLaren's aggressiveness can make a crucial difference. Later, at 4 p.m., traditional qualifying will take place for Sunday's main race, a session that has historically been critical in Miami due to the difficulty this circuit presents for overtaking during the Grand Prix. Finally, on Sunday, May 4th, the big day of the competition, the gates will open at 10 a.m. starting at 2 p.m. The drivers will take part in the classic pre-start parade, followed by the grid formation ceremony at 2:30 p.m. The Miami Grand Prix will begin at 4 p.m. On a circuit that punishes mistakes and rewards strategic courage, tire management, traffic management skills, and the ability to react to sudden changes in weather or road surface conditions will be crucial. McLaren will arrive in Miami not only leading both championships, but also with the internal certainty that they currently have the best car on the grid. Their technical evolution has not been the result of a fluke, but rather a systematic process of improvements implemented since the second half of 2024, refined and enhanced in the first part of 2025. Every area of the car, from aerodynamics to suspension and cooling package, has been optimized with the aim of building a car capable of dominating on any type of circuit, whether high-speed or technically demanding. Ferrari, on the other hand, faces the challenge of reversing a narrative that, until now, has been unfavorable to them. After a start to the season marked by strategic ups and downs and occasional errors both in the race and in the pits, the Scuderia arrives in Miami under pressure to prove that its 2025 project still has competitive life. The SF25 has shown flashes of great performance, especially in qualifying, but its inconsistency in race pace and tire management has hampered its results. The integration of Lewis Hamilton into the team, although symbolic, has highlighted the difficulties inherent in adapting to a completely new car, one with a different driving philosophy than what the Briton experienced for years at Mercedes. Miami will therefore be a crucial test for both teams. For McLaren, it is an opportunity to consolidate its authority and send a clear message that this season belongs to them. For Ferrari, it is an imperative event to regain confidence and internal cohesion, and to demonstrate that they can still be protagonists in the 2025 championship. The technical and competitive analysis of McLaren and Ferrari at this early stage of the 2025 season allows us to understand not only the strengths and weaknesses of both teams, but also to anticipate how they might evolve as the championship progresses. What we've seen so far is no coincidence. It's the result of very different strategic decisions and design philosophies that are beginning to be clearly reflected on the track. McLaren has opted for an extremely aggressive evolution of its already successful 2024 concept. The MCL39, while at first glance retaining certain characteristic features of its predecessor, is actually a hidden revolution. Each of its major components, from the front wing to the rear suspension, has undergone redesigns focused on maximizing aerodynamic efficiency and improving stability in high-speed corners. One detail that makes the difference is its new suspension philosophy, which not only allows for better tire temperature management but also gives drivers greater confidence when attacking urban curbs and curbs, a vital factor at a circuit like Miami. The MCL39's thermal efficiency is also improved. Changes to the radiator layout and the geometry of the side air inlets have optimized engine cooling without compromising airflow to the rear diffuser, which is crucial for maximizing downforce. Furthermore, McLaren has worked intensively on weight reduction, allowing them to operate with greater flexibility in mass distribution, adjusting the car's balance to the needs of each track. On a competitive level, McLaren's advantage is not only measured in pure speed. It is also reflected in its consistency during long runs and its ability to keep the tires within an optimal operating window, even in changing conditions. The level of confidence displayed by Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, especially in critical phases of the race such as starts, restarts, and safety car management, demonstrates a car that responds predictably and allows its drivers to exploit its full potential without fear of losing control or excessively degrading its tires. Ferrari, in contrast, has shown a much more volatile performance. The SF25 started from a solid foundation, inherited from the improvements implemented on the SF24 during the second half of 2024. However, despite a chassis that boasts good structural rigidity figures and improved aerodynamics in slow corners, the Scuderia faces significant difficulties in two critical areas: tire degradation and traction out of slow corners. The SF25's behavior during low-speed acceleration reveals a lack of traction that forces drivers to be extremely careful with the throttle, compromising their exit speed and, consequently, their overtaking opportunities on circuits like Miami, where DRS zones require maximizing every millisecond available on the straight. Regarding degradation, Ferrari continues to struggle with graining issues on the front tires, especially when track temperatures rise above 35 degrees. This vulnerability forces more conservative strategies, compromising their tactical flexibility in races where the pit stop window can be very dynamic. From the driver's perspective, the internal differences are also notable. Lewis Hamilton, a recent arrival at the Scuderia, has shown glimpses of his enormous adaptability, but still faces a significant learning curve in managing the SF25 in highly demanding conditions. Their traditional style of late braking and aggressive corner entry has had to be softened to accommodate a car that demands more finesse in weight balance and greater precision in load transfer. Charles Leclerc, on the other hand, with his intimate knowledge of the behavior of recent Ferraris, has been able to extract a little more performance over a single lap, but is still hampered by the car's inconsistency in extended race conditions. Another key technical aspect to consider is Ferrari's efficiency during pit stops. Although they have improved compared to previous seasons, they still show higher average times than McLaren's, which on sprint weekends, where every second counts exponentially, can be decisive in the final result. Therefore, from a purely technical and competitive perspective, McLaren enters Miami with clear advantages in several key areas: aerodynamics, tire management, operational efficiency, and driver confidence. Ferrari, for its part, will need to execute a near-perfect weekend, avoiding any strategic or driving errors, to have a realistic chance of challenging McLaren's dominance. The battle between these two giants in Miami will also be a confrontation of philosophies: McLaren's aggressive and highly efficient evolution versus Ferrari's attempt to capitalize on its natural talent and historical competitive resilience. A duel that promises thrills and could begin to define the fate of the 2025 season early on. The 2025 Miami Grand Prix will be much more than a simple battle for points. It will represent a critical examination of the true capabilities of McLaren and Ferrari under the most demanding conditions, on a circuit that rewards both pure speed and strategic intelligence. The Miami International Autodrome layout is a challenging combination of long straights, intense braking, and technical sections, where the slightest mistake can mean losing vital positions. Quickly adapting to the unique characteristics of this track will be crucial, especially since the event will be held in a sprint format, minimizing the time available for testing and corrections. From a technical perspective, Miami demands a perfect balance between aerodynamic efficiency and stability under braking. The asphalt can reach high temperatures, increasing stress on the tires and making proper tire management one of the determining factors of the weekend. The ability to maintain a competitive pace without excessively compromising tire life will be crucial, especially in Sunday's main race, where a fairly wide pit window is expected due to the potential for safety cars or strategic interruptions. McLaren starts as the clear favorite in this scenario. Its MCL39 has proven to be exceptionally efficient on circuits that combine high-speed sections with more technical sections. The car's handling of low-speed traction and its stability under heavy braking offer a natural advantage at a circuit like Miami, where slow corners following long straights are common. Furthermore, its ability to immediately adapt to the road surface gives it operational flexibility that could prove decisive in qualifying and during the sprint race. Another factor working in McLaren's favor is the internal cohesion between drivers and engineers. Both Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri have worked impeccably with their respective race engineers, managing to continually fine-tune the car's setup based on the specific conditions of each circuit. This working dynamic not only enhances their individual performance but also increases the team's responsiveness to unforeseen situations. Ferrari, however, faces the challenge of Miami under completely different pressures. The SF25 has shown flashes of competitiveness, but its main challenge will be consistency throughout the weekend. For Ferrari, each session in Miami becomes a test of fire in which they must minimize errors and maximize opportunities. Friday's sprint qualifying will take on even greater importance for the Scuderia, as a poor starting position for the sprint race could doom their chances in the main race due to the inherent difficulties in overtaking on the narrow Miami track. In terms of strategy, Ferrari will have to be especially aggressive. Considering its known weaknesses in tire management, one possible approach would be to try alternative strategies, such as early pit stops or risky compound changes, seeking undercuts at critical moments. Another factor will be the driver's ability to stay out of trouble in the opening laps, where the congestion of cars and lack of space often lead to contact and retirements that can completely alter the course of the race. In terms of driver behavior, Miami will test both composure and improvisation. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri have demonstrated great maturity under pressure, knowing when to attack and when to intelligently defend. In contrast, Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton will have to quickly find the balance between aggression and prudence, especially at the start and during restarts following potential safety car interventions, where a miscalculated maneuver can mean the difference between glory and disaster. In the final analysis, what's at stake in Miami goes far beyond immediate points. For McLaren, a resounding victory would consolidate its dominance in this early stage of the championship, establishing a psychological and mathematical advantage that its direct rivals will find difficult to overcome. For Ferrari, a good result would be crucial not only to stay in the fight, but also to rebuild internal morale and regain credibility with its fans and the paddock itself. Miami essentially represents a crossroads for both historic Formula One giants. On a circuit where every thousandth of a second counts, where strategic intelligence is worth as much as raw speed, and where external pressure is compounded by internal pressure, only those who manage to remain calm, adapt quickly, and execute flawlessly will have a real chance of success. The big question everyone is asking is whether Ferrari will finally be able to find a way to match McLaren's near-perfect performance, or if the Woking team will continue to extend its dominance in a season that, so far, seems increasingly tinged with papaya. The 2025 Miami Grand Prix is shaping up to be one of those dates marked in red on the season-long calendar, not only because of its spectacular staging but because it comes at a crucial moment in the championship's narrative. McLaren, with a technical and operational advantage thus far evident, has the opportunity not only to reaffirm its dominance, but also to consolidate a hegemony that could be difficult to reverse in the upcoming rounds. A victory here wouldn't simply be another statistical triumph, but a resounding declaration of power before the rest of the field. Ferrari, on the other hand, heads into Miami with the urgency of someone who needs to prove, not only to their rivals but also to themselves, that they have the resources, intelligence, and ability to turn their situation around. It's not just about championship points, but about the very credibility of their 2025 project, about validating the decision to bring in a seven-time champion like Lewis Hamilton and giving Charles Leclerc back a car with which he can consistently fight for victories. This weekend could be a turning point for both teams, a confirmation for McLaren, a rebirth or a new disappointment for Ferrari. The tension couldn't be higher, and in a setting as vibrant as Miami, where the margins are microscopic and the spectacle is guaranteed, any mistake, any success, can completely change the story being written this season. Now I want to know your opinion. Do you think Ferrari will find the pace to compete head-to-head with McLaren on the streets of Miami? Or are we witnessing the beginning of a new era of orange dominance, where the Woking team will undeniably impose its rule? Share your predictions in the comments. Which driver do you think will shine the brightest this weekend? Will it be Lando Norris reaffirming his status as a leader? Oscar Piastri demonstrating that his progress has no limits? Or Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc reclaiming the Ferrari name on one of the most high-profile stages in all of Formula One? I invite you to follow all of our content closely, where we will analyze in detail every day of the Miami Grand Prix, break down the strategies, review the critical moments, and understand together how every small decision on track can define the future of the championship.